It's the month of Adar. We're supposed to be joyful, joyous. The month of Adar. Pisces. Joyful, joyous. And what do I mean by we're supposed to be? Shouldn't it be we are? What's this supposed to be thing? You know? That's like if there's like an expectation of us. When in fact we are made in God's image, we are co-creators. And shouldn't joyfulness be just a part of our natural state? It's like saying, oh, we're supposed to be hungry. Well, hungry is part of something that is just about us. Oh, or we're supposed to have like skin on our body. Everyone's got skin on their body. We're supposed to be joyful. Everybody's joyful. What do you mean supposed to be? So, I am here with my 3 dogs, Brownie, Daisy, and Saint. There's Daisy. Hi, Daisy. And we are in Medford, Oregon, United States of America, planet Earth, Milky Way solar system. And we're reading Knowing God's Plan by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzato. And so there is a summary of chapter 5, and this summary has 3 headings. And we're on the third heading, and the third heading is evil within the interconnected mechanism of all existence. Evil within the interconnected mechanism of all existence. And so we're on the last paragraph of this third heading, and we're probably going to which means we're probably going to finish this right now today, and then we can start. I guess we can start chapter 6, or we can say that's all we're doing here. It's all good. So this last paragraph here has 5 numbered points that need to be made here, and that is, number 1, from the darkness of evil, we will recognize the light of God's perfection at the end of history. From the darkness of evil. So from the darkness of evil. Because of, I don't even know if because of, not in spite of, not because of, but from, we will recognize the light of God's perfection at the end of history. So because from the darkness of evil, because the book says that this evil is supposed to be like curriculum for all of us to grow, grow in spirituality, grow closer to God, to the light, grow closer to love thy neighbor as thyself. And so the darkness is an incredible tool that has been given to creation for us. And from that incredible tool, we will recognize the light of God's perfection at the end of history. Which, the end of history, I believe, is what, the end of the 6,000 years, and we are in 5,700 and something, so we got a couple hundred years and change left, right? Okay, so, and this is the second point, the existence of evil and its subsequent negation allow us to understand God's oneness. The existence of evil, the emanation of God's goodness initially, and then God withdrawing that goodness, stage after stage after stage after stage after stage, more and more and more withdrawal leaves nothing but evil. And then God putting the goodness back in, going the other direction towards the initial goodness, and then stopping and saying, this is where we're going to pick up from. And all of us, mankind, is a partner in this. And we are going to walk this journey back to this initial emanation, which was all beautiful love, goodness, the light of our God. We're going to walk back to that original place together with God, all of us, over the 6,000 years. So the existence of evil and its subsequent negation, and that is negating, coming back towards the light, allow us to understand God's oneness. That's beautiful. Allow us to understand God's oneness. And we're doing this together. And just like I have just uncountable experiences of where I have experienced darkness and evil in my life. And there's always people around me, whether it was when I was a kid or whatever. There's always individuals, and we kind of do this together. And as we work through all of that, whether I'm working through it with somebody else and it was their darkness, or they're working through it with me and it's my darkness, the existence of evil and its subsequent negation allow us to understand God's oneness, to get it at some level, to understand it at some level. God's oneness, all of us, everything. Oh, so beautiful. Like our God is an amazing professor, and we're all students. And he designed the curriculum and the classroom, right? And the campus that we're on. The greater the darkness, the greater the revelation of God's oneness. So not only is all of that how this works, but also the degree of darkness. If we've got just a huge problem, it's just like, oh, this is just too much for me. I can handle the small ones, but not this big one. Well, those small ones gave us a little bit of light, right? Let me read this again. The greater the darkness, the greater the revelation of God's oneness, when evil is eventually destroyed. Okay, so the greater the darkness, the greater the revelation of God's oneness when evil is eventually destroyed. So at the end of the 6,000 years, right? The greater the oneness. I'll tell you what, we've had some great darkness over the thousands of years, right? And we're doing it. We are doing it. We're getting through it. The greater the revelation of God's oneness when evil is eventually destroyed. 3, we gain a great merit when we overcome our evil desires. So not only does this darkness, overcoming the darkness, and the greater the darkness, the greater the revelation of God's oneness when evil is eventually destroyed, but also individually, while we're in that time period, we gain great merit when we overcome our evil desires. So yeah, like when I was a kid or when I was a teenager or even now, I experienced darkness related to my evil desires. Hey, I want something, I desire something, and it's the desire is like for me. It's like I want that. Oftentimes at everybody else's expense, but I want that. You guys can't have it because that's mine. Let me have this. It's mine. Everybody else has got a desire like that too. How do we survive if every single person in this world has desires like that? This is mine, it's not yours. How do we survive? How is there anything left if we're all taking it for us individually? We gain a great merit when we overcome our evil desires. So when we overcome things, we gain great merit. And I'm not sure how to even explain merit in my own head. 4, evil gives man a real opportunity to serve God by perfecting the world, enabling him to become a partner in creation. 4, evil gives man, wow, what a tool evil is, an incredible tool. Evil gives man a real opportunity to serve God by perfecting the world. I'm really happy because God gave me this beautiful chocolate cake, and it's better than I even imagined. There's no evil in that. That's all God. That's all love and light and goodness. Ooh, a chocolate cake. Better than I even imagined. Is that a real opportunity? It's pretty easy. Oh, Ernest, I know you really love chocolate cake. Yes, so I'm going to give you a chocolate cake. Thank you. It's beautiful. What kind of an opportunity is that for me to serve God? I don't know how deep of an opportunity that is, because I'm getting what I want. And it's like, we're going to do this. Life is going to be like this. I can do this, but I'm not challenged by any of it. There's no bread of shame in that. Or wait, there's a lot of bread of shame in that. I'm getting everything I want without any effort. Evil gives man a real opportunity. So this evil is a real opportunity to serve God. Not by giving me everything I want, bread of shame. Evil gives man a real opportunity to serve God by perfecting the world. So as I transform and perfect myself, I'm like, hey, God, thanks for the chocolate cake, but I want something to where I can be a part of this process. I could work a little bit, and I can contribute to this beautiful existence that you created, and I can see my efforts making a difference instead of just giving me everything. Enabling him to become a partner in creation. 5, God has told us that all his ways are just and that he oversees everything that happens in the world. However, often we experience things that seem very unjust. When a righteous person is tested in this way and remains steadfast in his faith, he gains great merit and becomes very beloved to God. Amen. Thus we can see that when evil forms part of this whole interconnected mechanism, it ends up being for the good. This happens when man understands that evil exists in order to be overcome. Its own nature, however, remains purely destructive, and if man is not careful, it grows strong and hinders the process of perfection. Eventually, evil will be destroyed and the world perfected. So that is the end of chapter 5 summary. Okay. So I'm going to read this last part again. God has told us that all his ways are just and that he oversees everything that happens in the world. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, light angels, be with us now. However, often we experience things that seem very unjust. Seem, so that's our perspective. So we've got to be careful about how we see things. You guys are okay. You're good babies. When a righteous person is tested in this way and remains steadfast in his faith, he or she gains great merit and becomes very beloved to God. It's like a father or a mother and their child. And they're teaching their child to be strong, right? Teaching their child how to build something. And the child is naturally taking shortcuts, and when it falls apart, the child gets upset, and the parents explain to the child these concepts, of course, in a way the child could understand. And the child's like, okay, let me think about that. And then the child performs the same act again and doesn't cut corners but maybe things fall apart anyways, which is like, hey, that's kind of unjust. I did it the right way this time and it still fell apart at some level. But the child's not upset. The child's like, no, I got this. It's okay. This is God's plan that he did for me, and I'm learning from it. And then so the parents just like, oh gosh. Oh, he gains great merit and becomes very beloved to God. Becomes very beloved to the parents. That's us. We are becoming closer and closer to God, and we are becoming more and more beloved to our God through the utilization of evil and darkness, and us overcoming that. Thus we can see that when evil forms part of this whole interconnected mechanism, it ends up being for the good. This happens when man understands that evil exists in order to be overcome. Its own nature, however, remains purely destructive, and if man is not careful, it grows strong and hinders the process of perfection. So its own nature, however, remains purely destructive, and if man is not careful, it grows strong and hinders the process of perfection. So I've often thought about this over the years, is how do I work with my evil inclination inside of me, which we all have one. And oftentimes I've asked myself, do I become friends with it? Is that the relationship I have with this evil inclination that is here to help me? And it's a tool for me to learn from? And it says here, its own nature, however, remains purely destructive. And if man is not careful, it grows strong and hinders the process of perfection. So becoming friends with it, I don't know. I don't think that's for me, I don't think that's where it's at, becoming friends with it. Hey, let's get along. It reminds me of the scorpion and the frog. Eventually evil will be destroyed and the world perfected. So we'll come back to this, and like the scorpion and the frog, no judgment towards either one though, but the frog is on the side of the river and getting ready to cross, and the scorpion comes up and goes, hey frog, can you take me across the river, because I can't swim, but if I get on your back, you can take me across the river. I got to get across the river. And the frog says, no, of course not, you're a scorpion. If I say yes, you can jump on my back, we're going to get in the middle of the river and you're going to sting me, and then we're going to both die. We're going to both die, because you stung me. And the scorpion's like, are you kidding me? I don't want to die. I wouldn't do that. No, that's not going to happen. And the frog agrees. The frog is becoming close to the scorpion and accepting, and the scorpion for maybe seeing the scorpion as a possible friend. Oh wow, So the scorpion jumps on his back, and the frog starts out across the river and gets in the middle of the river, and the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog says, why did you do that? Now we're both going to die. And the scorpion says, I'm a scorpion. It's what I do.